Hello, and welcome to part 3 of our Alfatron DSP video series. In this video, we will be taking a look at how to edit and configure the individual DSP modules in the input and output channel strips. Now, if this is the first time you're tuning in, please make sure to view part 1 and part 2 of this video series, where we take a look at both the overview of the software to familiarize a little bit more with the actual software interface, as well as how to connect to the DSP in part 2. So we are now in part 3, as I mentioned, and we are already connected to the device. We can see that from the green lights on the tab here, and we are connected to the DSP, and we are live with the DSP already. I can confirm that by just clicking on the device list, and you'll see there I'm connected to the unit because it's asking me to disconnect. Now, as I mentioned, each of these modules can essentially be configured a little bit. So although this is a fixed architecture DSP, meaning that essentially the channel flow is fixed in place and I cannot necessarily change how the flow goes of the signal, but I can edit some of my modules individually in each of my channel strips, both in my input and my output channel strips. So the default settings, or the default view directly from the unit, will be to have an expander, a compressor, acoustic gain compensation or acoustic gain control, parametric EQ, and this is an 8-band EQ, and then there is a feedback destroyer, also an 8-band, loaded or preloaded for the inputs. For the outputs, I'm preloaded with a filter. So this is your high pass and low pass filters, your basals and linkwidths and buttsworth filters, as well as, again, 8-band parametric, a delay module, and a limiter. I can't change my last module here. That's my output section, and that's my phase inversion and my mute. And I can also not change my input module here because that is my physical input module, which houses my gain and my analog to digital converters. But these 5 modules in the inputs and these 4 modules in the outputs can slightly be modified or changed to different DSP modules. So in order to do that, right now you can see there's no highlights coming up, but if I click anywhere on any of the modules, it'll essentially open up my channel strip and go to that module. But if I click on my edit module button on the top, once I've gone into edit mode, I now get a red block over my channels or over my modules. Now I can essentially right click my module, and now I have a whole section here of different modules that I can load and some different functions that I can perform. So let's say I wanted to change my expander to a gate. I'll simply click on gate, and now I have updated the first module in my list for channel 1 to a gate. Similarly, I can change number 2 or the second module. I can change that to an ambient noise compensation module. So now I've changed that module. I can change my acoustic gain compensation. Again, now I can again now access my expander or my compressor module, so I can also move them in this way further down my channel. Or I can also load a 10, a 15, or a 31 band graphic EQ. But we'll leave those like that for now. And on my output stage here, the outputs, I can basically add a 10 or a 15 or a 31 band graphic EQ whenever I right click any of the modules. So you could also remove a module if you don't want to use a specific module. So let's say, for instance, I don't here on my inputs want to use my AGC. I can basically just delete it, and it will basically just pass signal from the ANC module to the parametric EQ module directly, without actually being processed on this third module block. If I wanted to again put something back, I can again put my compressor back onto that module. And let's say I wanted to now have all my inputs configured with this new configuration, being gate, ANC, compressor, parametric EQ, and then feedback destroyer. I could also right click and just copy this current configuration to all my channels. Or I can just copy the current channel and then go to my second channel. So if I copy that and I right click my second one, I can always just paste, and it'll basically update this channel to be the same as my first one. And again, if I were to right click this and copy to all channels, it'll just basically duplicate the same module layout on all my channels. Now, once I have configured my modules the way I would want to, I would need to upload this information to the DSP. It doesn't necessarily save this level of configuration automatically. I need to tell the DSP that it now needs to reconfigure itself to the setting. So then I would just click on upload parameter to device. And once I have done that, it has now sent that information to the device, and now it is basically fixed in place. So if I were to disconnect from the device, and let's maybe just make a new module there, and I'll delete this first one. So I'm just loading a blank module. I'll delete that first one that we worked on. So you can see here, it's basically gone back to the default settings. Now, if I search my device list and connect to my DSP, you'll see that now it's come up with my new layout that I've just made. Again, as mentioned previously, I can very easily reset this layout back to default. So once I click on reset to defaults, it'll basically reset this DSP back to the standard configuration. So if I click on reset to defaults, there's a little pop-up window on my second screen that's asked me if I'm sure I want to restore the scene defaults, and I'll just say yes. And you'll see I'm still connected to my DSP, but it's put me in system mute. So just to update, I'm going to disconnect from my DSP. Well, sorry, it has disconnected from my DSP, and I'll just reconnect to the DSP, and you'll see it is now updated back to the standard default layout. Well, thank you for watching, and as always, be sure to subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed already, and activate the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever the next episode in our Alfatron DSP video series is uploaded. See you soon.